And there we go. All right. Howdy doody, everybody. I'm here with Julie Duncan today, and I've been doing some more interviews lately, and I've been talking to Julie more lately. So I figured, why don't we just record one of these times when we're talking? Because I think they're valuable conversations, and then it helps us both get things out too. So I'm really excited because I have Julie with us today, and I just wanted to introduce her. I guess your best main title is like high performance coach, right? High performance executive coach.
Yes.
And then like what does that mean to a lot of people when you tell people that, or do you even tell them that at first, honestly? What do you how do you explain what you do?
Okay. So great question. And yes, I identify, as the saying goes in today's world, as
Right?
a high performance executive coach. And really, Mike, I help people with the things that keep them up at night. What do those look like? Burnout, tough decision making, navigating the ever changing landscape of the business world, right? It's ever changing, especially with AI. So, my goal is to help them thrive under pressure so they don't crack under it. So it's those soft skills that oftentimes get pushed aside because we're busy working in our business and on our business. But what about our own personal return on investment? What about our own personal evolution? Those things are so important in today's world. Um, so those are the things that I focus on. I'm not the numbers person. I leave that to the other business coaches that are amazing with Crystal Clear Business Strategies. I am more the soft skill, but I don't even like to use the word soft skill because they're so important. They're so vital to our success.
Okay, so this is probably one of the reasons why we connect so much and why I like talking to you. This is, I didn't even tell you about this, but I really like this idea lately that I heard, and I think you would love this too. So, a lot of different religions and beliefs, and even psychology, talk about like a trinity of phases people have to go through, or like a holy trinity, for example. But I heard somebody talk about how in order to get better with your business, you have to you have to work on yourself, and then once you get yourself together enough, you have the processes and the organization and the abilities to then help your nearby community, your friends and your family. And then once you get good at that, a lot of times in order to go to the next level, you got to go back to yourself and get that next level of self readiness to go out into the broader community and to work with like your region, for example, or your state or your country. And then if you want to get to the next level, you got to go back to yourself,
True.
right?
I
And
love
that's
that.
kind of like I feel like what you do a lot,
Yes,
right?
I absolutely love that, Mike. And speaking of leadership, you struck a chord with me because this was a big eye opener for me recently. So I have written some chapters. One of the ones I'm looking at the book now, prescription. I know it's probably backwards, but prescription for career success. And I wrote a chapter in there. And this wonderful gentleman named Paul Lawrence also wrote a chapter. And it was like, boom, light bulb moment. He talked about how leadership begins with us. And in the business world and as an executive coach and even in life coaching, because I have my LLC in life coaching, we oftentimes think of leadership as leading others. But you just said it so eloquently. It doesn't begin there. Where does it begin?
With ourselves.
Yes. Yes. And once we are strong enough and we have really worked on our own evolution, then the goal is to what? Carry that to our team members and then empower them. And then, yes, as we rise, we peel back the onion and then we do more work, more work. And boy, has that been so true in my own life.
Do you feel like parenting like teaches people that lesson the most?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so funny you say that, Mike, because as soon as you said parenting, I had an image in my mind. And I always felt like I didn't have a really strong backbone or wasn't real assertive in my life. I was kind of a people pleaser because of my background. But let me tell you, having children, I learned to lead. I learned to be assertive and not aggressive. I learned to be assertive. I learned to have a background and all those things that we need to be able to guide our own children. So the answer, the long answer was that. The short answer is yes, yes, yes.
right? Yeah, and it's not that you have to, in order to be a good leader, you have to be a parent. It's just one of those scenarios that nature forces you into if you want to be a good parent, right?
Yes. Yes.
But that that experience, I think, is really useful for people to think about, because when you're forced with that responsibility, you have to choose like how you're going to act around the people the little people you have to lead, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that was just random, but I figured, yeah, that was a big one for me when I became a parent, and I think it helped my business because of that as well. And you see people when they become parents become better business owners too, right? Do you see that?
100%. And, oh my gosh, I have a story about this if you would like me to share it.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
just ties it in. And it's interesting talking to you, Mike, because we're on the different ends of the spectrum. I believe you have young children and I have grown and flown, right?
yeah. But I like
Um,
talking to people like you about it because then I can get like a little vision into the future,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, you will survive it. Um,
Thanks.
but especially the little girls that are very strong-willed.
Woo, woo.
Um, so yeah, so here's a story about leadership and being a parent, and it ties right into business. So one of my big whys of being a coach in terms of the life coaching space, and then oh my gosh, entering executive coaching. I may have told you a story. Several years ago, I had a school district, Prince William County, purchase 55 tower gardens from me. I'm still a partner with a nutrition company. We had gardens so you could teach kids about where food comes from. And
Which is
a school
awesome.
purchased 55 tower gardens in our regional area. And it was a colossal achievement, and I knew it. I came into the business very new. I was a social worker at heart. My background's in counseling psychology. And I had all kinds of angst about everything that had to happen in that year. I had to show up to a school board meeting, talk to the school board. I had to demonstrate. I had to keep things going for a year, supplying them, modeling, um, all the things. And they were actually looking at other units as well, but I knew if I could pull this off, it would be a huge accomplishment. And there was an evening when I was going to the school board meeting. I had just had knee surgery and it was pouring down rain. I got lost. And I remember thinking in my head, again, social worker, new business, new entrepreneur. And I remember thinking in my head, I'm just going to turn around. Nobody will know. I was devil and angel on my right. You're
Yeah.
laughing. Yeah. They won't know. I'm just gonna tell them it didn't work. And I had all these reasons in my head. But something might popped into my head and I thought, my kids are watching.
Hmm.
Cannot turn around. I have to be the leader for my kids. And I was never so happy that I did not turn around when I got a call and we were vacationing in Florida at the beach. It was a gorgeous day. I'll never forget the blue sky, beautiful temperatures like June, families swimming in the ocean, and I get a phone call. I'm up on the deck looking over at our condo, and the woman is practically screaming, Julie, 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 because I'd worked with her for a year from the company. They are purchasing 50 tower gardens. Your check will be over $9,000.
Hmm. It all made sense.
Full circle moment, right? But thank heavens I did not turn around at that moment because my brain was trying to talk me out of it because it was
Hmm.
a huge new endeavor. But I was a leader of my own family. I was a leader of my children, and I was not going to allow that to happen. And I was never so happy as that moment when she called.
Hmm. I think a lot of people like once they get to a certain level of business, they almost forget the how they have to change their mindset, I guess,
Amen.
right? And then you get stuck in the same patterns basically again and again
Yes.
and again.
Yes.
Like what is there I like this phrase called tripwires. Have you
Oh,
heard of so having tripwires, either physical or mental or digital or
mm-hmm.
whatnot. to help get the result you want. Like in strength training, we use like in our business, we use tripwires for different strength exercises. Like if you get to this point, you've gone too far, right?
Wow, interesting.
And I wonder how we could like create tripwires for business owners in a way. Like what? How do you know when you've gotten stuck in a routine that's not serving you anymore? You know, that's something I think about because I feel like it's hard to know when you're blind that you're blind if you've been
Yes.
blind for a while or you just
Wow.
miss things, right?
I love that analogy. I love the analogy of tripwires. And I was thinking about this, that is my mantra a lot, whether it's myself or my kids or
A
I'm
mantra is
teaching.
a good tripwire, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The definition of insanity is what? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see that pattern, Tony Robbins, I've learned so much from Tony Robbins. You know, he talks about patterning. We need to understand our patterns, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, our behaviors. We're doing the same thing over and over and it's not working. That's a cue, a tripwire to say, okay, what do I need to do differently?
Yeah.
So that is a great analogy.
Do you think so we talked about a little bit about like your health and fitness journey a little bit. Do you feel like getting healthier helped you be more aware?
Oh, that's a big loaded question, Mike. 100,000%. So I have a story about that. Don't we all just have stories to tell?
Yeah.
So 13 years ago, and you might remember me fleshing this story out a little bit when we spoke earlier. About 13 years ago, I was very, very sick. I was in the throes of parenthood. I had a child in like first grade. I had a preschooler, and I had a lot of health issues. And a lot of them, if I would have kept going, I believe would have fell into autoimmune. And our son had a lot of health issues. So not only was I not well, but I was also really focused on our son who had some very serious respiratory issues, which again, I think all of this could have culminated into autoimmune. But the interesting part is you just asked me that question because when the whole Tower Garden um, thing was working out with Prince William County, I was not well. I'll
Mm-hmm.
be honest with you. Like I was struggling. I'd had big knee surgery. I drove there. I had a lot of mental fog. I didn't have a lot of clarity. I was sick a lot of days. Our son was sick. We were rushing him to the ER sometimes. And in the throes of this, I'm trying to keep my head clear because I knew what a big business venture this was, and I wanted to close them with their Tower Gardens more than anything. So I had to rise above what was happening to me. So
Mm-hmm.
fast forward, I was introduced to nutrition, cleaned up our diet. Our life did a 360. All of a sudden, I show up in the world over time. It's a process of cleaning up your diet, right? And getting better nutrition and starting to move your body more. All of a sudden, I show up in the world and I am a different person. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
whoo. I can think clearly. My vision even improved. I was moving my body a whole lot more. I was sleeping better. All the things that go into showing up
Mm-hmm.
in the health and wellness space versus sick. And when I look back on that, I am so eternally grateful that I learned about health and wellness because to this day, I haven't had a sick visit to the doctor in 12 years. I live my life from the vantage point of wellness, clarity, purpose in my life, and it's still another piece of a business that I have is sharing whole food nutrition with people because I know the difference it can make.
I
We
feel
can,
like that's like the engine in a way,
it
you
is.
know,
It is.
and then like the soft skills are kind of like the driver almost, and then like maybe the whole vehicle is the hard skills. I'm still working on my analogy there, basically. You know, like you can have a really good engine, but if you don't have this, like someone could be really fit and still be missing like a lot of really good like leadership skills, right?
Yes, yes. I like to think of, and we can extrapolate this, I think, for mind, spirit, and body, because that's our whole
Mm-hmm.
makeup, right? Is a mind, spirit, body. But
Yep.
when that piece is well,
Mm-hmm.
that encompasses who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Health and wellness is a huge piece of it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Our mindset is a huge piece of it, feeding our spirit and our soul, and then moving our body for our fitness, which is your expertise. So all of that needs to come together. And when we're lacking in one, two, three of those areas, it can show up in our business, it can show up in our relationship, it can show up in our everyday life. And it can be very challenging. And I speak from experience because I've lived it.
So what do you think like the field of executive coaching looks like nowadays? Because I feel like some of the things you're saying are, I still don't hear them as much as I would like to hear them. But maybe that's just like where I'm looking versus is it well, I'm trying to think of the right words here. How would you summarize the field nowadays? Like how do people do what you do, and then like what is a day in the life of an executive coach, maybe would be the best way to say it.
Well, okay, so I want to answer that in two different ways. I want to
Okay.
backtrack for the
Yeah.
first part of what you said, because you said a couple different things in one.
Yeah, I'm spitballing as I think about it, basically.
That's all right.
I want
That's
to
all
be
right.
people to be really clear about how you do things, like the mechanisms behind it.
Yeah. So let's go back to the first part of that is you said, I don't hear so much about this. We hear about business coaching and net profit and people work with,
Right. Yes.
entrepreneurs in terms of their business itself. But let me flesh it out for a moment. I recently had the honor, and I say honor, of attending the VACI, and I hope I'm saying that correctly,
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Chamber of Commerce Executive Conference. Okay. And Crystal Smith, who's part of our company, the head of our company, the leader of our company, I want to say, she did two keynotes. Oh my goodness, Mike, she flushed this out so well. So I'll try to give you a short synopsis. In today's world, 2025,
Mm-hmm.
September 2025, we have AI. Whether love it, hate it, don't know anything about it, it's here. So
Mm-hmm.
as executives, they have the opportunity to use AI for the hard skills, the hard things that they've always had to do. What is that?
Right.
We know.
Right.
Email, reports, spreadsheets, maybe even dabbling in customer service a little bit, building bots. Love it, hate it, it's here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a piece of our world. It's a piece of the business world. So what does that mean? That means number one, that other threats can come along, which is a
Mm-hmm.
sidebar of what I just said, but other threats can come along. And from COVID, 9/11, we weren't quite prepared for that, were we? We were backtracking and we were reacting. So we have to be prepared for that. We as business leaders, but we have to empower our team on that as well, right? So we've
Mm-hmm.
got that issue where soft skills come in, and it's imperative that we are working with our team members and again, ourselves on resiliency, building a plan if something comes along that we weren't prepared for, forward thinking, work life integration, team
Okay.
building, all those things, right? So it's
Yeah. Now it's making sense. Okay.
yeah. So not only from the vantage point of we need to be prepared for the next big crisis that can and will come along, which none of us want to think about, but we need business plans for that. So that's
Mm-hmm.
one. Number two, the inception of AI. We all know that. Okay, so what's left for business owners to do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
beauty of this is we have opened the door with AI and
Mm-hmm.
all the technology to be able
Mm-hmm.
to invest in ourselves and our team on these things that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Sustaining innovation, work life integration, handling, preventing burnout, because all of that begins with our own personal evolution. And if we're not doing that, then we are missing a huge piece of our own evolution and a huge piece in our business.
Man,
So,
preventing burnout, that's a big one, I would say.
yes, yes.
Okay. So let me just summarize a little bit, because I think that's genius, and I think that's like a finger on the pulse kind of thing, basically, because the like an MBA nowadays, for example, I see the use in an MBA to a certain point, but then after that point, it dwindles pretty quickly with the advent of AI as an assistant,
Mhm.
basically. So it's useful to know the terminology. Like I've been running my own business for about 10 years, but only in the last like 3 or 4 years do I feel like I've gotten comfortable with business terminology,
Mhm.
would I say. That's just from learning in the field. But like once I got comfortable with business terminology, that opened up a whole other area of how I can get my business model to be more efficient and asking the right questions, basically. And once you can ask the right questions, you don't you don't need to spend as much brain space on that type of work. And what you need to spend brain space on, I think, is what we're talking about. And
Yes.
and people will just no matter what they're spending their brain energy on, they're going to tend to overdo it with the pace of our current, just, I don't know, culture,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Business landscape, I call it. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, yeah. So it's not going away. It's just shifting to a different part of the brain, and
Yes,
that part of the
100%.
brain we're trying to get people ready for.
Yes, I'm actually preparing a talk right now for an insurance company I'm working with, and it's so funny you say that. It's on neuroplasticity and the neural pathways and strengthening those, and it sounds really like neuroscientific. I'm not a neuroscientist, but even the basic part of that is mind blowing. When you
Mm-hmm.
dissect that and you understand that we are pliable, we are agile, we can be lifetime learners, and
Mm-hmm.
the need to be able to move between all the, I like to call it correct thinking rather than positive or negative, because we can have really negative habits and thoughts and we can justify those all day long, right? They may not be
Mm-hmm.
correct, but
Right.
correct thinking puts us in the lane of, okay, this pathway over here isn't working for me. How do I need to segue and how can I build this pathway over here for more correct things that are going to serve me better in my business? Correct thinking, higher elevation, growing, scaling.
It's
Um,
almost like wisdom or something,
Wisdom's good, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we get lost in wisdom in today's world. My goodness. I mean, I was at a BNI meeting today and they were talking about like how you, goodness gracious, like your phone and how that's safer than your computer and how you can save the information and passcodes and pass keys. And I was like, I said, does it save to the cloud? No, it doesn't save the cloud. And they went through this whole analogy. But that's our world today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mind blowing.
The information age is here. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the best thing you can do is prepare your mind for it. Right.
Yes. You may not understand it all. I don't understand electricity, but I have lights on in my house. That's all
Mm-hmm.
right. Use
Mm-hmm.
it.
But you know, like the general terms that help you operate your lights,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So like once you learn the general terms that help you operate, then you need to actually spend your brain. And what's crazy is what you're talking about, not only is a good way to spend your brain energy, but it's also a way to increase your brain energy capacity, right?
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. And that's that neural pathway that I was just talking about, neuroplasticity. And Mike, when I like take that example of the Tower Gardens, I was not educated. It was like, oh my gosh, 13 years ago, like right when I started my nutrition business. Even though I had a background in counseling psychology and I poured into other people, I wasn't real intuitive and I didn't really pour into myself the way that I have over the last 10 years because of that
Mm-hmm.
experience was one of the reasons. But I didn't have the foresight, I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the understanding to be like, okay, wait a minute. I'm talking myself out of something and then understanding that from the mind perspective, that is really important. I didn't have that. And I quit after that. I never sold another Tower Garden myself to a school district because I saw a saber-toothed tiger there and held myself back. I was like, well, I don't know anybody else in school districts. I can't do it. Even though I got a check for $9,000, that
Mm-hmm.
didn't motivate me enough because I was scared. And had I had the foresight I have today, I would have probably went to California and been selling Tower Gardens. But I stopped myself because I didn't have the know-it-all. to understand what was happening. And that's my why, that's my passion, to be able to empower business owners so that they grow, they scale, they come forward with their strongest sense of ROI in themselves so that they can empower their team members, they can grow their business, they can scale their business to any level they want to.
Hmm. Yeah, because once you got that down, that's the foundation. Do you feel like, how do you get people to know themselves better? Because that's something I work on with clients, and I feel like we all do it in different ways, but I feel like that's useful for people to hear as well. So we were talking about like the big five before, for example, and like understanding personality traits, or even just like having the right words, or maybe even identifying tendencies or patterns, I guess, right?
Yes.
How do you figure that out with your clients?
Well, I love the DISC assessment, which came from you,
Yep.
although I do understand personality tests, but that DISC assessment I think is a great tool.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I would start with a needs assessment. I do, I don't, because that can give you a boatload of information about not only their business, but about themselves as well, and their
mm-hmm.
team and how they interact. So needs assessment, DISC assessment, and then really digging into what their goals are. You know, goal setting is very important. We need to be able to set smarter goals. I love the word smarter goals, right? And then start
You're
from there.
preaching to the choir.
What's that?
You're preaching to the choir here, but
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah. I
agreed.
know I am. You know, where do you want to start? What's important to you? Where are your needs? Where are you stuck? So digging into that and getting, an evaluation, getting a needs assessment of that. And then that's when the real work begins. I love not Tony, Dean Grazioso teaches a 7 levels deep exercise. Why, and going and packing that, peeling the onion back.
Yes.
Again, the more you can help people have insight as to how they operate, what their thoughts, what their patterns are, the more that we can help them be able to make the changes that they desire. I use podcasts a lot, workbooks. I just really, for me, it's a blueprint based upon the needs assessment and the evaluation.
Cool. Yeah. I think all those things are important. I think goals, sometimes when you talk to people about goals, they get kind of squirmy, you know? But I think if you do something like a disc assessment, for example, or you get to know their personality a little bit, just asking them the right way about their goals can help get those down more, because sometimes if they're resistant to the phrase like what are your goals, for example, their answers aren't the real answer, and that's where the whys come in really useful. And you
Yes.
go and you say, why is that your goal? And then why is that? And then why is that? And then we get down to like, what's the real goal here? What's the real reason? Because then once you have that, that's something that, if you're reminded about it, you will stay on the path, right?
Yes, 100%. I did 7 levels deep, and it's interesting what came out for me. Now, I'm a little bit older than you, Mike. I know I'm surprised, right?
I
Uh,
can't tell.
but you know what came out for me? At the very end, number 7, legacy.
Hmm.
I want to leave a legacy. Well, guess what? I want to empower business owners to leave a legacy as well.
Yeah,
And I
just
wouldn't have
double it
known
up,
that.
just exponentially get that goal out there. Yeah, I think
Yep.
that's I think that's right. That sounds right. And then you do all the work on yourself to get yourself there, right?
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm looking for my battery's getting low, and for some
Oh, no.
strange reason on my computer, I do not have my charger up here.
Well, I think we're
Let's
gonna we're
have it.
gonna wrap up probably soon. What do you got? Do you got more than 5%?
Mm,
It's
I
getting
don't
down.
know. It's pretty low. But
Well,
crazy thing, Mike, is I always have it up here. But let me see. I've been moving around lately to different places in the community and taking my computer. So unfortunately,
I
it's
feel
not
you.
at my desk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had my charger almost overheat in the car the other day because it was so hot. I had to watch out. And then that's my only charger. So I was like, no, I need this charger
Yeah.
when I get to my next location. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you this random one, but I like asking people random ones towards the end. So like if you could put a billboard somewhere with anything on it, where and what would it be?
So that is such a fun question. I would put it in a very busy spot on Wall Street.
Okay.
Okay. Busy hustle bustle spot. And it would
Okay.
say, burnout isn't a badge of honor. Clarity is the real power.
Mm,
Because so many times the truth is, as business owners, many leaders believe that in exhaustion proves their worth, but it does not.
mm,
Clarity proves so much more. So I would
mm.
want people to be empowered and understand it's not about doing more, it's about doing things clear and having a clear vision.
I like that. I like that. The goal going into the winter for me right now is to have a clear vision of what I'm doing in this next season. So I'd like to do the
Mhm.
yearly goals, and then I like to do like seasonal goals. So I'm trying to
Amen.
make sure I keep that vision clear going into the next season right now.
Amen.
I think that's good, Julie. Thank you for being on the podcast. Where can people like find you, by the way?
So I am on Facebook, Julie Duncan. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not on there too much. I want to beef that up. But really, where I hang my hat the most is on Facebook. And if you want my page, you can see that I'm aligned with Crystal Clear Business Strategies. I'm an executive coach. Da da da. That's really where I hang my hat the most.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And we'll put some info in the bio for this as well so you guys can find Julie really easily.
Awesome.
But thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you for being on, Julie. And we'll see you guys later.
Thank you. It was an honor, Mike.